Welcome back. I'm here with Giovanni, and Gio is one of my good friends in the space. One of the best, networkers, event organizers, relationship builders, tribe builders, I think, in the world. So I'm excited to talk about that. But
Wow.
first, Gio, um, this is going to be funny for us because I feel like you can't get us to shut up when we're together. But this is there's a scene that I'm always reminded of when I talk to you, and I've never told you this before, but in the movie Wayne's World, there's a weird naked Indian that comes to Wayne during one of his dreams, and it takes Wayne to go see Jim Morrison, and Wayne asks Jim Morrison, how am I going to get all the bands to come? And Jim Morrison says, if you book them, they will come. I want to talk to you about how the heck you get all of these people to come to your events, to go to bat for you in just amazing ways. And they just show up. Like, you don't tell anybody what's going on. You don't tell anybody who the speakers are, what we're going to learn, what we're doing. We just so blindly trust you that we show up. And that is a great magic trick. And I'm excited to learn about it.
I will reveal the trick.
Yeah, so I mean, start revealing the trick. Like, I got stuff I want to talk to you about, but you take the lead just with where your head goes the second I say that. Like, if you had to kind of sum up how you make these things happen, um, you could talk short term, you could talk, specific to one event, you could talk long term, like how you've crafted these relationships and trust over years.
It's how I do. First of all, thank you for noticing. And the marketing nerd in me sees and recognizes the one in you. And this is why I always love talking to you. The concept, and I guess I've not that I've labeled it this, it's just it's a phrase I use, which is status elevation. And the idea is, how can you help someone else elevate their status with their community so that
Okay.
they're willing to share their community with you? And
Say that again. Say that again. How can you?
how can you help elevate someone else's status with their community
Mm-hmm.
so they're willing to share their community with you?
And their community isn't necessarily they're like a famous online person with a platform. Their community could
No,
just be the people they love and care about, right?
correct. Where they have trust already.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
And, I've called this aligned path, meaning every single human, I believe, is on their own individual journey, on their life story, and they have a future they want to get to. And if you can help them get to their future faster, simpler, easier, you become valuable to them. And it's understanding their path and what gift you have that can help them get to their future faster.
So how do you? I mean, how do you even start to do that? I get it, 100%.
Yeah.
I get it. How do you start to do that? And doesn't that take a hell of a lot of time to do with everybody that you want to connect with?
Well, I'll give an example.
Yeah.
So in 2016, I quit real estate. And at the time, I was doing real estate, and I started Archangel, producing events once a year,
Mm-hmm.
right? Almost like a side thing. But I wanted it to be not a side thing anymore. And I had this dream of having a large scale event, over 1,000 people.
Yeah.
I didn't have
That was
1,000.
2016. I thought that was before
2016.
then. Oh wow, it was only
Yeah.
2016.
So Archangel Summit was our first big one. And I thought, okay, how do I have over 1,000 people attend an event where I don't want to do a lot of marketing, or sorry, I don't want to do a lot of advertising.
Yeah.
Because it was a space I wasn't familiar with. And I'll break down the entire thing and show you how this works. So I thought, okay, what I actually need is people with amazing communities of entrepreneurs that would be willing to invite those entrepreneurs to my event.
Well, explain what Archangel is first. I think that would help for anybody who doesn't know.
Right. So people know us as now a membership organization for entrepreneurs that want to impact a lot of people.
Okay.
And back then we were known as, or I was known as, someone who produced awesome events, awesome business events that weren't boring, that were a mix of business growth, personal growth, and it was more about the community that I built of entrepreneurs with big hearts that wanted to do really special things in the world. And I thought, okay, how do I do this? So I started by thinking, okay, what I need is at least 3 super well-known speakers that will attract an audience. And the first person I reached out to was Gary Vaynerchuk.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of saying, Gary, I want to pay you a ginormous speaker fee,
But I want to buy
timing was
thousands of copies of your books like everybody else that
exactly
are just going to sit in a storage room.
Well, I actually gave them out because we had enough people.
You gave them out. You've been giving those things out for like 7 years.
Yeah, for sure. Very valuable. And then so I thought, okay, I want Gary. I wanted Seth Godin next, and I had no connection to Seth.
Right.
No way to be introduced. The only thing I knew was that he checks his email, which I think in response to email. I thought he's crazy, but
he still does. I've sent him emails.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So my pitch to him was, Seth, I'm your biggest fan, and I know you've heard that a million times. And I've read all of your books, and I know you've heard that a million times. But here's the thing you haven't heard a million times. I'm your success story. And let me break it down. And I showed him how I was his transformational case study success story, specifically by saying, I read Tribes, and here's how I built the community. I read Purple Cow, and here's how I created this. And I ended up by saying, thanks to me being your student, I'm now about to produce this big event that only exists because of you. And it would be awesome to come full circle if you can come speak at this event that only exists because of you. And his response was, how do I say no to this?
Yeah.
So,
but you did the work. I mean, this is like a pure dig the well before you're thirsty. It worked because you can't bullshit that.
Correct.
Yeah.
You can't, because I saw, how do you pitch one of the best marketers in the world? You can't bullshit.
Yeah.
And then I reached out to Robin Sharma, who I had met at an event. We weren't that close, but I thought, he's also really well known. And then it was kind of simpler to say, Gary and Seth are speaking. Would you want to? And he said yes.
Yeah.
So then I thought, okay, who do I know that has awesome entrepreneurial communities that I could invite?
So you got the anchors first, right? You got these like anchor speakers first that everybody else wanted to be almost associated with, in a sense.
Right. And going back to Seth quickly, my question was, what does Seth want?
Mm-hmm.
Because just saying, I'll pay you a speaker fee probably isn't enough. He hates flying.
Yeah.
And what I realized, and he's super successful. He's been through a million different things. I believe what worked is that what matters to him is knowing that his work matters.
Yeah.
That it's all the blood, sweat, and tears wasn't for nothing. It was like, there's someone who actually listened, paid attention, did the work, and now is reporting back. And I think that's such a huge thing to give to people as a gift.
Mm-hmm. I think that's beautiful. And I think if there's somebody if you're listening, I think that if there's somebody that you really admire, the best way to get close to them is actually to be their greatest fan.
Right.
And to, buy their stuff, but do something with it. And then after you've done something with it, report to them what you've done and how what they did helped you do what you did. Don't say, hey, I'm about to do this thing with your work.
Right.
You report back after you've done it. There was what's his name? The famous YouTube director guy. I can't remember what his name is, but he is like one of the biggest like YouTube directors, and now he's like a famous actual director, like in like movies and stuff. But somebody came to him and they said, hey, somebody's trying to pitch him on an idea. And they're like, hey, I have this great idea. I'd love to put it by you and hear your thoughts. He's like, I don't want to hear it. Come to me after you've done it, and then I'll talk to you about it. Like, ideas are not worth anything. But I agree, man. Like, if somebody were to come to you like that and were to say, hey, dude, I went and read all your stuff. I went and listened to your podcast. I've attended 5 of your events. This speaker from the event, or this thing you said in one of the breakouts at one of your events, helped me achieve this, and then that, and then this, and look at where I am. You'd be like, oh my God, this is why I do this stuff.
Right.
Like, if there's somebody that you really admire out in this world, they probably don't need the money. Like that's the catch-22, isn't it?
And they have a lot of fans, quote unquote. What they don't, or what they want more of, is case studies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
That's cool.
locking in those three speakers, I approached people who I knew had incredible communities. So, Jason Gaynor, that we both know, and Ashley, who introduced us, I believe. And
We
then,
met at one of the events. Yeah.
yeah, JJ Virgin and Jada Selner, and asked them, would you like to share the stage with Seth, Gary, and Robin? And it's, I think, kind of a no-brainer.
Right.
And so going back to helping them elevate their status with their communities. So for them to say, hey, I'm going to be speaking with Seth and Robin and Gary.
Yeah.
Right. And to me, that's, if you can understand how all of this works, it's a game changer.
You went to people as almost the second wave of saying, like, you reverse engineered the problem. I talk about this all the time.
Right.
You worked backwards from the problem. You didn't work forwards from the solution. The problem is, I need to get butts in the seats, and the right kinds of butts in the seats. Okay, who already knows those people and has trust towards those people? Okay, great. How can I give them something that they can't get anywhere else that makes this the biggest no-brainer? And that, it sounds like, is status elevation,
Right.
by being on the same level as these top tier, call them top tier gurus. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah.
4 years later, Seth wrote a book called This Is Marketing, where he talks about status. I was like, this is, yes, so aligned.
I feel like me and you are like the best fans of that book. I feel like most people are like, oh, this book didn't like tell you what to do. No, it tells you exactly what to do.
Exactly.
It's just not tactical. Do this, do this, do that, because that's not actually what marketing is.
Right.
I highlighted and tagged the crap out of that book, and I know you did the same. I want to talk about um, the little speech I gave at your wedding. So, for those who don't know, you got married, what was it, 2 months ago now?
Correct.
2-3 months ago now, something like that. And during dinner, it was interesting because, like, one side of the room was like family and like your neighbors were there, and your neighbors had no idea like who you did or what you did, and the other side of the room was like all the people you impacted. And so they're like gushing over you and all the impact, and your neighbors and your family are like, what are you talking about this idiot like that for?
It's perfect.
It was great. But I told a story, because if you give me a mic, I'm going to talk. And so I told the story of why you told me you started doing events. And we were going on a walk. We went on a lot of walks back in, I don't know, 2013, 2014, 2015. And you were telling me that you wanted to start this thing called Archangel. And you were going to have large events. And I said, why do you want to do this? Like, I was just curious. I was challenging you. I was just curious. And you're like, oh, because I want to meet Mrs. Archangel. And my Mrs. Archangel is the type of person who's going to attend one of my events. I was like, that is the smartest thing anybody has ever done. You created these huge events to attract the exact type of person as the woman that was going to be the type of woman that you were going to marry. And of course you did, and the amazing Stephanie showed up, and you're now married. And that's like tongue in cheek, obviously. I mean, that's not why you did it. I think you were probably kind of partially joking to me, but what that showed me and exemplified is just, God, your ability to work backwards from what you want to exist in your world. It's incredible. Like, where does this come from?
It's one of my favorite superpowers, reverse engineering. Reverse engineering ridiculous dreams.
You reversed engineered your beautiful wife. Like, she's amazing. Like, I mean, you literally designed a 1,000-person event to meet this woman. I mean, talk about a testament to its success and how good you are.
Well, thank you. And also friends, and also clients, and the kind of people I want to be around.
Yeah. I mean, how what's your process for that? How do you go about thinking about that?
Well, can I share the bigger, I haven't told you this yet,
Okay.
My new three, what I call moonshots, like because when we
Doesn't
first,
include another woman, does it?
no. By the way, I don't know if I ever told you this. When you the first time you said, "Hey, let's have a meeting, or let's meet up," and I said yes, and you said, "Yeah, let's have a walking meeting. Let's go for a walk." You
Yeah.
actually scared the shit out of me because at the time I was 70 pounds heavier, and I thought,
Oh
"What the hell is
wow.
a walking meeting?" I was actually scared, and I'm
When
glad you
was
did that.
that? That would have been what, 2014,
14.
2015? Wow.
Uh, well, anyways, back then in 2014, when I set out all of my original Archangel dreams, they've all come true. And back then they were really big and scary,
Right.
right? So I thought I have to do this again. So I have three new ones that I want to achieve by 2030 in the next 7 years.
Okay.
Um, the first one is to produce a film that both wins an Academy Award and a Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay.
The second one is to have 1 million people attend my events in a 12-month period.
Okay.
And then the third one is to impact 1 billion people by helping 1,000 people become what I call millionaires, which is, I want to redefine the word to mean someone who impacts 1 million people. So
Okay.
1,000 people impacting 1 million is 1 billion.
Okay. So talk to me about how you're reverse engineering those. I mean, admittedly audacious goals, but like, I know you, so yeah, I'm looking forward to celebrating with you.
Thanks. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Well, first, I do this because I care more about the byproduct of setting the goal than the actual goal itself, and I care more about how it makes me think about the journey.
Like a shoot for the moon, and worst case you'll end up in the stars type thing.
But it's not even a worst case. It's the things I can't even predict are going to happen.
Yeah.
By doing this, which to me is more fun than the actual thing itself.
I dig it.
And then understanding how the brain is trained to think linearly and not exponentially. But if I can reverse engineer an exponential curve, right? So if I want 1 million people in 2030, if I can do 500,000 in 2029, it'll make it easier to get to but I don't have to it's not incremental. It's not like
I understand.
Right. So it's more planning what are the foundational dominoes that have to happen first, line things up to get into momentum to reach that then.
Okay. So what are some of those foundational dominoes then?
Simplifying my life now to a place where I can start thinking about revenue generation, thinking about scaling growth in a very unique and different way, thinking about audience building in a new way. It's probably similar to what you've been thinking about for the past couple of years. It's like, how do I create audience for literally for the sake of creating audience and not because I'm selling something?
I mean, I think that's the only reason why you should create audience. I think to create audience to try to sell something is a really stupid reason to create an audience because it's not a very good way to sell something.
Right. And my running joke.
Maybe eventually, maybe at one point, but like definitely not this year.
I've always, I don't know if you've heard me joke about this, but I've always said, kind of as a joke, but I've had more people pay me than who follow me. Like if you count up, like
because people attending, yeah.
On Instagram, I think I have 7,000 or 8,000 people who follow me, but we've had 25,000 people either.
Yeah, so I have this question on my sheet here that says it just says hardly use social media. Period. Why? So let's get into this. That's a good segue.
Well, to me, large audience is inefficient versus deepening relationships.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, if I'd rather have 100 clients who pay me a lot than a lot of clients who pay me a little, because in the end, they're all people and they're all relationships, and it's more transactional. Unless it's like an app or a product that you can scale, I don't do those things. Mm-hmm. Everything I do is people-based, right? But if I build relationships with people who have larger audiences, that's an easier way to scale something in the future. So, for example, our first film, I now produce films too. In our first film, we had in a week 100,000 people opt in to watch it. So we were supposed to do a lot of different things that got curveballed because of COVID. The film was finished production in 2020, and then when all the COVID stuff happened, I thought, well, this film may actually inspire people and give people a bit of positivity and all this weirdness. So in the summer of 2020, we said we're going to do a free global online premiere. Just opt in and watch the film for a week.
Right.
And 100,000 people opted in. But the reason they did is because it's going back to my status elevation. I had friends in the film who were happy to promote the fact that they're in this freaking epic movie. So we had millions of people being like emailed to say, hey, this thing is happening, opt in.
This brings me into something that I've always thought about a lot with you and about how it impacts me, and it's something that I should do a lot more of, admittedly. You invest unconventionally. I mean, I don't know about your like financial investments, but you invest unconventionally. It seems like your financial investments are largely predicated on mission first and money second.
Mm-hmm.
You seem to invest financially into people to about as big of an extreme as I've seen with others. And you can't be making money from these things immediately, but think about what kinds of things has returns. Like you could take whatever, $100,000 and put it in the stock market. Let's say you have $100,000, or you can spend $100,000 and I don't know, pay 30 or 40 to some anchor person who everybody else wants to learn from, and then invite all of these incredible people into the room and cater the thing. And that's the same expense of $100,000. But what you're doing is instead of spending 100 grand on ads to build your audience or email list or whatever it is, you're improving these relationships with these people. Like, how do you think about these types of investments? Is there a rhyme or reason to it, or is this just like, this is my philosophy?
Everything I do is strategic.
Yeah. Okay.
It's investing in social and reputation capital. And the proof of it is you alluded to this, but I'm doing an event in October. This is the first time I'm doing a larger event where I'm not even promoting the event. I'm probably going to do one post to say, hey, this event is happening. And that's all I have to do. I'm not letting anyone even know who the speakers are. Even people who are paid and they're paying full price, because I used to discount tickets. I'm not doing that anymore. And as a ticket is $3,500. I'm not letting anyone know who the speakers are, what the agenda is. It's literally show up. And then I'm at a place where I can do that because
I've bought 2 tickets. I know.
but I've done it so many times that people just know it's going to be awesome.
Right.
And that's what I've been investing in.
But I mean, this is where your money has gone, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe there's more money that you're putting in the stock market, but like, whatever, right? But this is where your money has gone. But how can you give me some examples of like what have you done to kind of build that? Because my goal, so I always think about stories and stories we remember all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think about which stories stick in our minds, and then I think about why that is. And one of the stories that sticks in my mind is Conan O'Brien, one of my favorite comedians, just amazing, and he's incredible in every way, really. But he got kicked off TV. So for anybody who knows the story, he was on late night TV, and basically he got kicked off TV, and he couldn't appear on TV for a year, contractually. And so we decided to do a stand-up comedy tour. And he sent out one tweet, and within 20 minutes he sold out. And the tweet literally said, like, I'm doing a nationwide comedy tour. It's probably not going to be good. Go here to buy tickets. And he had a link. And he sold out the entire nationwide tour in 20 minutes with one tweet. And that story, for some reason, has stuck because I'm like, the power and trust in that, where people just know that when you show up, it's going to deliver. That's what I want to work towards. But how are you're doing it? Not as much. So how are you doing it? What are some tactical things you're doing?
It's investing in close relationships first
Yeah.
that I know can become exponential.
Okay.
And a friend of mine, this guy Sharon, posted a few weeks ago. I love this. What he wrote. He said, "Fame is the simplest business model." And I think it's the same with Conan O'Brien. When you have that much trust in and you've built community, it's simpler to do things. It's simpler to offer things because you have that trust and reputation connected to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to keep earning that and keep earning that and keep earning that and keep making it bigger and bigger. Same with the film projects now. Now my investment is into film and awesome documentaries that people actually want to watch. Partly because it's an obsession, or it's been a childhood dream of mine to make movies, and now I'm actually doing it, which is to me mind blowing.
Right.
But it's also a way of scaling past everything I'm doing right now. And then I'm creating an ecosystem. Like I messaged you earlier today, and I said, I don't know if you've ever seen Disney's synergy map, but I think it was in 1957. He drew on a napkin this diagram that showed how everything he does creates ecosystem with everything else. Like the film projects help support the music division helps the theme parks help the merchandise, and it's all kind of interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm doing the same thing now. It's like we're not just producing films in a silo, we're actually connecting the films to events we're doing. And then we're making events around the filming of the films. And then we're tying things into building audience in a much bigger way.
But are you building your own audience now?
Yes.
Where? How?
I'm starting from scratch with email, even though I've done email before, but I'm under my own name versus Archangel.
Got it.
It's an experiment. I want to go from 1 to 1,000,000 people in an email list. Just constantly giving.
Mm-hmm.
Writing is, I don't know if I think you're the same as me. Writing is my favorite.
Yep.
Over video or anything else.
Okay. So how are you going to build that email list, 2 million people?
The same way I build everything, to have what I call super connectors, tell all of their communities, hey, you should subscribe to this person's email list.
Using what elements of leverage?
I want to teach the very best frameworks I have around business building, things that people used to pay me for coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now just going to give it all away in exchange for building that audience.
So you'll put the framework in there, but how will that get somebody else who is a super connector who has their platform audience? Why are they going to send out your framework?
Well, if for example, I'll try to create a case study. So if someone I know is, I don't know, life coach, I'm making up a funny scenario.
Yeah, sure.
But they want higher paying clients, or they want to support their clients in a different way. They can say, hey, you know what, if you want to learn how to build your business, subscribe to his stuff, because he's going to give all his stuff away for free. And then as you're making more money, come back and pay me more for my coaching, or something along those lines. It's understanding the collaborative relationship, and it's not competitive anymore, because I'm not charging for anything.
You're not charging for it. Yeah. I'd be interested to see how that goes for you. I've tried to pull those levers before with no success.
Well, that makes it even more exciting for me.
Well, I mean, the part that I was missing is, I guess in some ways I might be considered to also be offering some sort of a competitive service. I mean, I just own businesses in a whole bunch of different areas, like all congruent in the fitness industry, but same type of thing, right? It's all connected for me, but it's all in the same industry. But what are all the things that these people need?
Right.
Okay, how many of them can I provide? And then that way, when somebody's over here, if they say I need that too, we're like, all right, we got that as well. It just seems to make more sense. But with our software, I mean, you know the story behind it.
Right.
We built free software for people to send out. And I went into a couple communities of, for example, I spoke to 2 guys who run a big community, like basically like a business community of fitness professionals. And they decided to build their own software suite, which is basically like a lead gen and marketing software platform. So they're trying to replace everything else and bring it all in-house under one of their own platforms, specifically for fitness professionals. So this does your Facebook ads and your lead gen and your email marketing and your conversion stuff, right? So it's one of those types of tools. And they say that the biggest reason that people don't sign up for that is because they don't have enough money because they don't have enough clients and they have to pay for client management software. And so they're not willing to spend $100 a month for this marketing software to get clients because they have to spend $50 or $100 for client management software, even though they don't have any clients. This is like their biggest problem. So I said to them, I was like, well, I got your fucking solution, dude. Like, send all of your people our platform and basically say, hey, instead of paying $50 or $100 for that software you are using that you may or may not like, but you don't have enough clients, switch over to this one and spend the $100 on our platform to get yourself more clients.
Right.
Still, it's just they're like, maybe they'll put out like one Facebook post about it. And that was it. It was never anything that there was never any resources that they committed, even though, I mean, it sounds like you and I are aligned, right? Inarguably, this solves their biggest problem, but they're still, well, I'm just going to like send out Facebook ads and try to get people to sign up for the software because it's easy. It's more straightforward. Like, it sounds like you've done a better job of finding people who think laterally and more straightforward towards these problems than perhaps I do.
Well, I'm usually the part of what I do is I'm the one who tries to come up with a solution before they do. I never ask the other person, how can this be useful for you? It's more like, here's my proposition. Here's how I want to help you. And then I'm always thinking about what is their thing that's more important than my thing. For example, if this makes sense, part of my assets are stages and now potentially films. So if as the film projects grow, if I ever say to someone, would you like to be in one of my movies? And now the scope of this thing is huge, that becomes an easy yes. And then when they're emailing their community to say, check me out in this film, by the way, it was produced by my buddy Gio, and here's how you can opt in for his stuff.
Yeah.
It's just easier. Or I'm speaking at this giant event, check it out. Here's who he is. He has this free thing. It's
interesting.
Different.
So it seems to start with leveraging whatever asset you have,
right?
That is meaningful to other people potentially.
Correct.
So I guess step one is figuring out what that is.
Right.
Like, what is it that you have? So what is somebody who doesn't have stages or movies or whatever? What do they have, or what is, if they don't have anything, which might be the case, what's the first thing that they should work towards building so that they do have something?
Well, I think everyone has something. They may not even realize it. And
I'd agree.
Actually, the biggest challenge is undervaluing what you already have because you think it's easy. One of my biggest, I think, or what people tell me is the biggest superpower I have is connection. But I never understood it because it was so easy. Mm-hmm. I thought if something's that easy, it shouldn't be considered valuable. Okay. And not realizing, oh no, those are not two different things. It's easy and valuable. So I think we all have something like that. We've probably solved problems for ourselves or for other people that we don't realize are really valuable.
I'll give an example of that. Now that you say it, I'm thinking of an example from another one of these actual interviews, Luca. And he runs a big local gym, but I spoke to him specifically about leveraging charity events to grow your business, particularly a local business. He does a wonderful job with that. And I asked him, I was like, so how do you get other businesses in the community involved? Like, what's that conversation like? And the first thing that he does is he finds out who the owner of the place is. These are all small businesses, right? Like the coffee shop or whatever, the bookstore locally. And he finds out the name of the owner. So instead of going in there and saying, hey, can I speak to the manager? He says, hey, is Mark around? Right. So that's step one. Oh, yeah, he's in the back. Yeah, let me get him. Hey, Mark, hey, what's your name? Luca. Hey, Luca's here to speak. Right. So, hey, it's Mark around. And then he says, hey, what's going on? I'm Luca. Look, I run I don't know if you've seen it, I run the gym a couple blocks away. I want to share with you a couple things that we're doing that are really, really working well to bring us customers in the community. If you got time, you want to sit down? Like, I'd love to share with you what's working with us. And that's a pretty easy yes. Instead of saying,
Right.
hey, do you want to get coffee and get to know each other, see how we can work together? Say, hey, I've figured out a few things that are working well for us right now. I'd love to share them with you. And that's a pretty good idea of just a gift. Like, what have you done in the past that's worked for you well?
Okay.
Um,
You just popped something in my
yeah,
mind
let's
that,
do it. This is what always happens with us. It always takes about 30 minutes to get into it. Go
and it's
for it.
fitness related. So
Okay.
one of my very first marketing coaching clients, and this is 2006, was a personal fitness studio up in Vaughan in the Toronto area called Bodies by Design. And I don't know if you know Chris Simpson, but he,
I've met him through you.
yeah, okay. So he hired me to help him grow. And like, it turned into $1 million personal training studio with like 30 trainers. It was actually really awesome. And one of the ideas that's very aligned with all of this in terms of partnership and collaboration. So the first thing we did was we created a survey for his members to say, and we thought about what are all the complementary areas where someone who is coming here is also spending their time, energy, and money. So, for example,
Okay.
massage therapy clinics, chiropractic clinics, spas.
Say that question again. What are all of because I don't want to gloss over it, what are all of the complementary areas where what?
Where someone who's paying or investing money here
Yeah,
is also investing time, energy, and money,
that's good. Okay.
right? To get to the same goal, which is health or fitness related or even beauty.
Oh, okay. So the goals have to align.
Sorry?
The goals have to align. So it's not just spending money, it's the goals align as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
so and then we surveyed the members to say, what is your favorite tanning salon? What is your favorite hair salon? What is your favorite massage therapy clinic? And we had actual data.
Yeah.
And then, so one of I'll make one up, ABC Massage was voted the top massage clinic by the members. Then I reach out to
One of
ABC,
those upstairs that only opens at 10 o'clock at night. One of those. One of those.
like an
Massage
actual R&T client. And I reach out and say, hey, we're from Bodies by Design. We asked our members, what is their favorite studio? You were number one.
Cool.
Can we send more people to you?
Yeah.
Right. And then,
Right.
let's collaborate and figure out how. And then I said, well, what if ABC Massage, you send a letter to all of your clients saying, we already know a lot of you love Bodies by Design. Chris wants to pay for your first session, or I'm paying for your first session, or something along those lines. But the gym covers all the fee or the discount.
And I like that language to want to pay for your first session, not give you a free session.
Right.
They're paying for your first session because that just maintains the price proposition.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
And we
an
actually
$80
packaged them
value
all as
or
like gift
whatever it is.
certificates.
Yeah.
Right.
Smart.
And that we actually created these booklets with all of the offers in one place. So it was like $2,000 in gift certificates to the salon and the massage therapy and the whatever, all combined.
It's like the favorites of all of the favorites of this place. Yeah.
Right.
And so all of those other spots were doing the same thing then?
Right.
Did you make them for those people? Like, did you make them and drop them? Seems to me like something like this, you would not only have to take the lead, but you would actually have to do all of the work as well.
Yeah, but it's
worth it.
It's so worth it.
Oh, it's worth it. No, the only reason that I bring that up is that often whenever I speak to people about this type of arrangement, people get frustrated. They're like, oh, but I have to do all the work. Oh, it's like, no. That's just how it is. Like the businesses that thrive are the businesses that are willing to go out and be the ones to figure out the collaboration,
right?
Identify how it's going to work, and literally print the paper and walk it over to their place. Like, you don't even email them a flyer and say, can you print 50 copies of this and give it to them? Like, no, you actually have to print it yourself and hand it to them and say, and even like figure out where they're going to place it and like put it down for them.
Right. I'll give you another interesting idea I came up with.
I like that. Well, let's stick on that one for a moment, because that works really well for local businesses, but also, I mean, if you're any kind of coach, what software platforms are your people using, for example? What other coaches are they hiring? What design services are they using? You can think online too and figure out what connections there are there and work that way. So that works really well. I mean, it works for any sort of product companies. We did this with one of our mentorship students where he was like, "Hey, what type of content can I create to get customers?" I'm like, I, like, I don't know. I mean, your account's fine. Like, your problem is not your content, right? Like, your problem is not, there isn't some magical thing that I can tell you of how to create reels a little bit differently or make some call to action on your account a little bit better that's going to like really move the needle for you, right? Like, that's not the problem. Who out there, like, so this guy trained parents. I was like, all right, who out there similar to you, like concentric circles, like who out there has the audience that you want to attract? Okay, mompreneurs. Wonderful. There's a lot of there's a lot of mompreneur type companies that are solo owned that have pretty good followings online because they're often quite inspirational. They're often pretty good at social media. And why don't you just say, hey, a couple of our people, you know, love your stuff, put me onto it. Um, I'd love to buy a few of your things and do a giveaway. You want to do that?
Right.
And part of the giveaway, so with Jeff, I mean, he did it, so I know the math. The giveaway that he did, it was pre and postnatal like preparation bags. They were like $200 and some dollars. And so he bought one from Rowena, who owns Healing Mamako, and they did a collaboration. There's like 20,000 plus followers that Rowena has. And in order to enter the contest, the giveaway, you have to follow Jeff on his page and join his Facebook group, which is a Facebook group for like fit parents. And anytime anybody joins the Facebook group, hey, what are you hoping to achieve here? Right, get into a consultative sales conversation. Jeff's packages start at $2,000. He could do this 7 times and get 1 customer and break even.
Right.
Meanwhile, most people like Jeff are sitting there saying, how can I point at words in space a little bit better in order to attract people who don't know me and have never met me? Like, it's like, all right, who, working backwards, right? Like, who, like what you just did, who out there has the people already that are buying this type of thing? How can I benefit them? It might just be as easy as buying their thing and giving it away. Like, she's ecstatic. She gets a sale.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. So you could do this. It's not just if you're like a local gym. That's the only reason why I wanted to give a couple more examples there. Go on. This is great. I love this.
Well, I had mutual friends of ours, Jenny and Vince.
Mm-hmm.
So Strong Fitness Magazine, which is, again, relevant to your space.
For sure.
And I love geeking out with people and brainstorming ideas. And part of it was, how do we increase not circulation, subscription to the magazine?
Okay.
And I thought, okay, and I asked them, they've done advertising, or let's say Facebook ads or something like that. And what is the cost per lead on a Facebook ad?
Who wants another fitness magazine?
Well, but like let's say it's in the 5 to 10, or sometimes it's crazy cost per lead.
Yeah.
So I asked them, how much does it cost to print and ship 1 copy? Let's say anywhere in North America. And I'm going to make up the numbers because I don't remember, but let's say it's $2.
Okay.
I said, okay, great. Here's what we're going to do. Approach your advertisers and any contributors. So people who write in your magazine, and say, you're going to send an email to your list. So let's say it's a supplement company who's already paying to be in the magazine, ABC Supplements. They're going to send an email to their list saying, hey, I, ABC Supplements, want to send you a free copy of this magazine. Here's an opt-in page. Just put your name and mailing address, and I will send you a copy of this awesome magazine that I'm in.
I've bought you a copy of this magazine, right, or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
The magazine pays for the printing and shipping, but now you've elevated the status. Like, this is what I'm always thinking about, right? So the advertiser looks good because they're giving a gift to their people, and it's an awesome magazine that they're in. And now circulation goes up too, which means
circulation of the magazine goes up. So their cost per unit goes down because they're printing more. But how does that turn into subscribers? Is it just a follow-up nurture sequence at that point?
Well, if you're going to do ads online, on, let's say Facebook, who knows who it's being shared with. But if you're
Yeah.
being endorsed by someone who's, and these are clients, meaning they're paying for supplements, so chances are they are a qualified person that would read that kind of publication,
What?
being introduced to that, and they see an ad from the people that they are fans of because they're already buying it. So there's like all this edification happening.
Okay. So did that work?
Yeah. And now people are opting in. So if you're nurturing an email list of people who've opted in from this way versus from cold traffic, right? It's just a different, it's edification.
And you can do more with those people too. Like they also have a fitness coaching service and a business coaching service. And so even somebody who might not be interested in a magazine,
right?
You can sign up, you can send out a lot of free magazines and sign up one person for a $5,000 business coaching service.
Correct.
Which, yeah, seems to me to make a lot of sense. Yeah, it's interesting when you have assets like that you can work with.
But we all have it. You don't have to have a gym or studio. You don't have to have a magazine. It's not about what they've had. It's about your assets. And we all have something. And if you don't, you can borrow assets from someone else.
You got an example of that?
Yeah, let me think of it's like having a three-way collaboration where everyone kind of wins.
Okay.
Like Kylie Jenner.
Okay.
Kylie Jenner creates $1 billion makeup company. She has like 10 employees.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't actually make anything. She borrows the asset of a company that already produces makeup, but they don't have the reach she has.
Right.
It's that kind of it's like understanding collaboration from that place of you don't like Airbnb. They don't own anything.
Yeah.
Other people have assets that you can borrow from. It's just understanding how to do that.
I got asked today, I'm doing a Instagram, Q&A thing. First time I've done it in a while. Kind of reminded why I don't do it too often. But first time I've done it. I don't mind doing it. It's just, I don't know. How much depth can you answer questions in that are like good questions for the most part in a 15-second video, basically? I mean, that's the world we live in. But I got asked today, and I think that I answered the question really well in like not even a 15-second video, in like, I don't even know, 30 words or something. It was, what's the best skill I can acquire in my quest to attain financial independence? And my answer was, number one, invest 2 to 3 weeks taking a free course on Facebook advertising, Coursera, whatever, right? Number two, call up as many dental, chiropractic, and real estate offices you can find and offer to run ads for them for $1,000 a month. And number three, keep calling until you get 10. That's $10,000 a month or $120,000 a year. And then I just said, then study writing. Writing's the most valuable skill in the world.
Right.
You talk about this idea of borrowing assets. It's like, oh, I need time. Oh, I need flexibility. Oh, I need time flexibility. I need to build this platform. I need to create this content. Well, you've got to build the skills to be able to create the platform, right? Which means you've got to get good at writing, good at video, whatever you want to do. I think writing, because I think everything else builds off of that. But what I've found is that often people just need first to carve out space. And space to breathe, space to work, space to think. It's very easy to pile on stuff to our lives, to our work. It's very hard to rip that away. And so what happens is over time, we're just doing more and more and more and more and more. And then we're like, oh my God, how do we break through? It's like all of these amazing initiatives that you're talking about. And what I can't stop thinking about is this is freaking brilliant. But I'm even thinking, how do I have the space to do these things? Like, and I know that these types of collaborations work. And a lot of it is just prioritization. Like, does it really matter? If it does, then make it work for you. You're probably doing a whole bunch of dumb shit that's not getting you anywhere anyway. Like, check yourself. How many clients have you ever gotten in your life from social media? How much time have you spent on social media? How much are you earning per hour for your time on social media? My guess is it's pretty far below the poverty line. So, like, maybe that's not the best use of your time. Like, most people I speak to, their conversion percentage is about 0.02%. And I'm not making up that number. That's actually the number in and around in terms of like how many followers and how many customers they've gotten from it. But the second is, how do you carve out some time? And that example that I gave may not be the right example for you. I think it's the most straightforward way to just easily do something that's not going to take you very much time. Like, what industries are there that are neighborhood, local industries where it's like pretty easy to run local ads for in most places, unless you live in like New York City, for these types of services where one customer is actually worth a lot of money.
Right.
So the leads are worth a lot of money. Okay, dentists, chiropractors, real estate agents, there's others. Most of them, it's this three-way thing that you were talking about, not the upstairs massage therapist three-way thing. It's the three-way thing that you were talking about, right?
Correct.
Where what do they have? Well, they already have a service that they're offering that's a premium service where the leads are worth a lot of money, where they're going to service these people. What can you provide to them? Well, you can provide to them the leads, and they'll pay you a lot for it. And the actual skill set that you need to build up to get good enough to run local Facebook ads to send to a dentist, you can learn that in 2 weeks.
Right.
For free, easily, on the internet. So that's an example that just popped up from what you were talking about in this kind of in this weird.
Well, you mentioned pointing to imaginary words on social media.
Yeah, you know that I do that all the time. You know, I'm constantly looking up all of the blogs on what music is trending and what song is trending.
I think
because the algorithm.
I'm hoping this was you.
I dance.
But I saw one of your posts. I think it's yours, where you in conversation with someone saying, I've tried posting on Instagram, and the thing was, how many actual people have you spoken to today? Yeah, but I tried writing more better content. It's like, yeah, but how many actual? And I think maybe there's even a lost art or skill of having conversations with people. And if you
and so how do you find? So the question that I always get with that's like, if I were to do coaching myself when I did that type of thing, that's the question I get 10 times a day. Hey, how can I improve my funnels to get people? How can I improve my social media to get more leads? How many people have you spoken to today? Oh, but I have this funnel that's funneling people to that funnel, and then it's converting people in this funnel. Okay. How many people have you spoken to today? But the funnels and then the social media and the other funnels, I'm like, how many people have you freaking spoken to today? It's the conversation over and over and over again. The question I always get is, okay, cool, I get it. I buy into it. I need to speak to more humans. I got to build more relationships. Awesome. How do I find people to speak to? We're so disconnected now.
I like to start with, what would you do? I love asking this question to people. What would you do if you had to build a business without the internet?
I love those constraint type questions.
Because I did. And maybe that's part of the challenge is people haven't had that experience.
I did too.
Right.
When I was building up, I mean, don't get me wrong, the internet existed. I'm not that old, but you didn't use it to build your business. And so I'm coming from that world, which is perhaps why I'm somewhat jaded. But I love those constraint type questions. What would you do if, not saying you can't use the internet, but play with me for a little bit, right? Like, write this down on a piece of paper. If I could never use the internet, how am I going to get customers? And get your brain to think that way. There's a few more like that I love. One of them is, if I could never get a new customer again for my life, what would I change?
Nice.
Because that forces you to really think through customer journey, retention, referrals. I love those types of questions. And so going back to this idea of like, how do you get people to speak to? How do you get people to speak to you? Right? Well, you don't ask them for business. You don't reach out to somebody and you say, hey, I've got this thing. I'd love to talk to you about it. Do you want to get on the phone? Hey, I'd love to pick your brain. You do one of two things. I think what you said is brilliant and probably the best way a lot of the time, which is you figure out some value that you could offer them. Luca's example of, hey, I want to share, like, to a local business owner, right? I want to share with you something that's been working for us. Your example of you poll your existing customers, you figure out what services you're using, and then you reach out to that company and you say, hey, our customers have highlighted you as being the top design service, right, that they use. I'd love to send more people to you. Can we talk about how to do that?
Right.
The third way, if this is more local, is I like just asking people for advice. Like, you ask somebody for business, they're going to give you advice. You ask them for advice, they're going to want to do business with you. It's that Pitbull line, right?
Right.
But I love just reaching out to people and just saying, hey, I'm thinking of doing this thing. Reach out to somebody who's like in the audience that you want to reach. Say, hey, I'm thinking of doing this thing. Um, I'm just looking for people to tell me a little bit about themselves so that I can, create the service. Would you be willing, like, could I ask you some questions about your day, about things you've done maybe in the past or haven't done in the past and reasons why you haven't done them, and just to help me build what I'm doing better? You're going to get a lot of yeses. This is how I did my software launch. Was I got on the phone with 50 different people who work in fitness industries, and I asked them about how they program for their clients.
Brilliant.
Right.
You like those constraint questions? I have another one for you that
Yeah.
changed my life. So our another mutual friend, Dean Jackson, taught me this in 2012. And the question is, what would you do differently if you had to deliver a result before you got paid?
I like that.
Right.
I've heard that from him before.
Yeah.
I don't actually. You say mutual friends. I'd like to be mutual friends with him, but you're the only one who's actually friends with him. I don't know him.
Okay.
I admire him, but I don't know him.
He's awesome.
But I love that. So, what would you do differently if you had to deliver a result before you got paid?
So, do you know the story of how I even launched Archangel, like the first event?
I don't.
Okay, so in 2013, one of the things I did, and going back to what assets do I have, I knew I could help people. People didn't know that I could help people. So I started literally gifting my time to say, hey, I'm gifting 1 hour coaching sessions, or I'm bringing 5 people together as a gift who are all like this. So that I can, because the data I needed was the conversations that they're already having, the frustrations they're having, how I could be useful, and I didn't know. So I thought, let me support people. Let me gift the one asset I had at the time, which is a bit of time. No one has a lot of time, but I did my best with it. Yeah. And it was for me to build enough relationships so that our first event which was January 2014. Mm-hmm. My invitation was, the ticket is $500 for a day of me teaching you all my best marketing stuff. Okay. But don't pay me. Just RSVP, come to the event. If you think it was worth it, pay me after. And we had 120 people. And those 120 people were all from me gifting my time the year before. And then
so you met with these people for a consult or whatever it is, and then you followed up with them and
or a coffee or a dinner or a little group mastermind session or whatever it was, to start building up the relationship.
It's all dig the well before you're thirsty, isn't it? It's all okay. Well, like, similar to what I'm doing at this event, right? Like, I've got a book called The Obvious Choice that's going to come out in, I don't know, a year plus from now. Who are the types of people that, and the types of communities that I want to be involved in helping me get the word out about this book that I poured my heart and soul into? Well, I can't just reach out to them when the book is ready.
Right.
I mean, a year in advance. A year in advance. You were strategically, but also like passionately trying to help these people achieve something so that you could make a really value-filled ask to start something great? I can't emphasize that enough. I want to end with one question.
Mm-hmm.
Gio, this is a question that I've always wanted to ask you. This isn't a question that I ask most people, but it's a question I want to ask you, which is, what's one thing that you believe to be true about humans that you don't think is talked about enough? Throw you off the deep end with that question.
Oh, okay. That we can design our identity. There's this phrase, or a few phrases, that have plagued me my whole life. One of them that often I hear people say is, "It's just the way I am." And I've been looking back, and I think age helps with this potentially, but I'm 46. So I've been looking back, and I thought to even 20 years ago that even though there's elements of me that have been consistent, I have evolved so much that I'm a different and new person. And now, even more than ever, I'm intentionally thinking, okay, identity is a skill set. So what components of it do I want to get better at or change? What behaviors and personality traits do I want to change and design that serve my purpose and serve my bigger dreams and missions that most people would assume are malleable or can't be changed, or it's just static?
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Oh, I'll prove it to you too.
Okay.
How would you've been to my events. What is my energy at one of my events that I'm producing? Do I look frantic or anxious or nervous? Or
You're stoic, man. You take it in. You consume it. You enjoy it. There's very few times when I could look at somebody and say, "Damn, that dude is proud. That dude is proud. The he's absorbing the beauty of what he's built. He's really enjoying it in the moment."
Thank you. And I remember like Jason Gaynor came to one of our bigger events, and he's like, "Dude, there's like 2,000 people right there. How are you so calm?"
Yeah.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I had panic attacks and anxiety so bad that once I called the 911, I thought it was a heart attack.
Yeah.
I was literally a different person. I've trained myself to be peaceful, equanimous, or like even in high stress or high crisis situations, to just do my best to remain like this.
I love that. Well, Gio, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is fun.
Always.
I don't get a chance. You've interviewed me on stage a few times. I haven't gotten a chance to interview you yet. So this was good. Really appreciate you. Really appreciate you involving yourself in this, what I'm doing as well. And I learned a lot. I took a bunch of notes. So I hope others did too.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.